All right, guys. So this is going to be not a very good quality video or anything like that, but I just wanted to give or post a new video with a couple updates, and then my basically this is going to be my reaction to the new Avengers trailer. But yeah, sorry I haven't been posting much lately. I do have other things I've been working on with YouTube that I've been doing instead. So I apologize for that, but I will have more stuff up here soon. I picked up my pull list and I've caught up on a bunch of stuff, so I can do some reviews on comics. But I wanted to just do a quick reaction to the Avengers Endgame trailer. I don't think it's the final trailer, but it's the full trailer. It's the main trailer. And wow. I haven't seen Captain Marvel yet. My opinions on that movie aren't as harsh as some people are towards it, but I'm also not defending it either. I don't really see much of a. I don't see why people are freaking out about it so much. I think that's pretty ridiculous. I do think that people need to not also defend it so much, but I think I'm gonna go see it, and when I do, my assumption is I think it's gonna be somewhere in the middle. I don't think it's gonna be like Thor: Dark World or The Incredible Hulk. I don't think it's gonna be, but I also don't think it's gonna be Infinity War, Iron Man 1, or Civil War, anything like that. Or Guardians of the Galaxy. I don't think it's going to be up that high for me. I think it's going to be somewhere in the middle. I think it's going to be kind of like Ant-Man for me, where it was a great movie. It's a great part of the MCU. I'm glad I saw it, but it wasn't also my favorite of the bunch either. So I think that's what I'm going to see from what I've seen from everyone else and from what I've seen in reviews and things. I think that's where I'm going to fall. But beyond that, I'll probably do a review of it once I do see it. I gotta go see it. So, Endgame is where I am really looking forward to things, and I think everyone agrees. We've been waiting for the conclusion of this story for almost a year now, and I think we've been waiting truly for the conclusion of this story for 10 years. I think this is something that we've been waiting to see happen. Where are these characters going to end up? Where are these characters going to go? Because I mean, there's been this rumor that Captain Marvel's going to kind of come swoop in and just fix everything, and I don't think that's going to happen. I think she's going to come in and she's going to become an integral part to the story, but I don't think she's going to just solve all the problems. There won't be a movie if that happens. It's just people are being ridiculous who say that. I think she's going to have her moment to interact with these characters before their final send-off. And when I say final send-off, I don't think all of them are going to die. I know they said that, quite a few of them will, but I do think that a lot of them are just going to kind of go off into the sunset in a more or less grim way, because there's a lot of kids who look up to these characters, and I think doing that would really send the wrong message. But I do think some will die. I don't know who. I'm not going to make my assumptions. You have your own. I have my own, but in the end, it doesn't matter. It's really about what's going to happen in this movie. And I loved the beginning of the trailer where it shows flashbacks to all of the first starts to the characters, and it just has it in black and white, but the reds are kind of outlined within the color. It's very it's kind of like Schindler's List slash. Do you remember that movie? Pleasantville with Tobey Maguire from like the early 2000s. I think it was actually in the 90s, the late 90s. Pleasantville, where it's a black and white movie throughout, but they start adding color to it. That's what it reminded me of. Just a modern take. So that looked really cool. I'm not going to break down specifically everything I saw in that trailer, but it was about as perfect of a trailer as you can make. When they came out with Civil War and DC was coming out with Batman v Superman, I remember people giving Batman v Superman a lot of crap because they spoiled a lot in it. And I argued that the Civil War trailer spoiled quite a bit too. It doesn't make Batman v Superman any better than that sense, but I'm just saying, like, people kind of let that slide in the Civil War trailer. They showed a lot of that movie, and everyone kind of knew how it was going to end. I mean, they didn't know every detail, but it was pretty. You could kind of splice together beginning, middle, and end of that movie. This one you can't, and I really appreciate that. It gives just enough. I think this is if they do release any more trailers, I'm not going to see them. I think this is the last one. It's a perfect setup for what's going to happen, but it doesn't tell us how it's going to end or how it's going to conclude or what they're going to have to do. It's setting the stakes. It's giving just enough information, almost like a epilogue of Infinity War, where it's showing here's where everybody is now. This is what they're upset about. This is what they're going to try to do, and that's it. And they didn't give anything else beyond that, and I really appreciate that. So I am stoked for this movie. They released a new trailer for it as well, or a new poster, which looks awesome, fits perfectly with the rest of them. I hope that's the 4K Blu-ray cover, because they've been doing that lately, and that's awesome. They've been really nailing it with the posters lately. I think ever since Spider-Man Homecoming had their kind of blender with their posters, and some of the other posters weren't so great at the time either. They finally, I think starting with Thor Ragnarok, we're like, we need to up our poster game, because ever since then, like Thor Ragnarok had an amazing poster, Black Panther had an amazing poster, Infinity War had an amazing poster, even Ant-Man and the Wasp had an amazing poster. So it's really cool to see they're like, we got to really make these better than they've been lately. So that's cool. Excited for that. But yeah, I'm just stoked. I don't really have a whole lot to say about it. I'm going to definitely do a review on it. I will see Captain Marvel. I'll do a review on that as well. And then, I'm excited for superheroes, because Shazam just released a new trailer, and Shazam has had already some pre-screenings, which has some positive buzz. I think we're kind of back in a place where Marvel and DC are kind of both hitting a stride, which I'm not saying Marvel's on a roll. Don't get me wrong. But I think on a level of hype, I think Marvel is way above DC for a lot of people. But it's good to see both companies making good progressive strides. Recently, it's been a lot of positive for Marvel, and then just backtracking for DC every single time, and that's never good. You always want competition. It's just like in video games, the Xbox PlayStation not controversy, but competitive nature of the two. With Xbox doing so poorly as it is right now, Xbox kind of is like the DC universe of the game market, and when you do that, you got to have some competition, because it makes both better. It makes both companies better. So I think this is a really good time. DC made strides with Wonder Woman, and they made strides with Aquaman. Now Shazam, everything that we're seeing kind of announced coming up sounds really good for them as well. Marvel is just ending this perfect 10-year run. Not perfect. There's some movies that weren't perfect, but they weren't bad either. But they just had this really, really strong structure. And I think after Endgame, it's going to kind of reset. Not in the sense of it's going to reset the universe, but they're going to reset by removing those characters we've seen for 10 years and adding these characters we've been seeing the last maybe 5 years. And so even less. And so they're kind of restarting their universe in a way where they're going to introduce these characters that are a little newer and aren't 10 years old and haven't been here since a lot of kids were children and things like that. And they're going to actually kind of start over and do this again with different characters. They're going to be like, okay, 10 years ago, you had Black Panther, and this is all going to come to a head, and this is how this whole section's going to end. And 10 years ago, you had Captain Marvel, and this is how... And so I think this is a very perfect point. Endgame is going to be the final send off for these characters. It's going to be the final thing they have to say about these characters. They're going to kind of keep going, obviously, but they're going to kind of do another full back around circle where they're going to start a little smaller and rebuild their universe again. And then I think DC is kind of doing the same thing, even though they didn't have this nice 10 years of wonderful movies. So I think this is awesome. I think it's going to be a nice, more of a, awesome, there's a DC movie coming out now. Awesome, there's another Marvel movie coming out now. Awesome, and people are going to be excited for both, and it's going to be a perfect time. I think this is the time they've been wanting for superhero movies. And I know a lot of people are talking about this oversaturation of the market when it comes to superhero movies, and I don't think it's happening. I just don't think it's going to happen, especially now. I'm not saying it's never going to happen. Obviously, I think people are going to get sick of it if they start oversaturating, but I don't think they've done that yet. I think Marvel, when they were getting close to it with coming out with a movie a month, the only time that it felt oversaturated was a time where people were most excited for those stories because they had, you had Thor, Black Panther, Infinity War, Ant-Man and the Wasp, and then we had a little bit of a break. And that was like a really like punch, 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 punch of movies. And I think people, if it weren't those stories, people would think, okay, this is getting oversaturated. But since they were such strong movies and they all kind of led into one thing, I think that was I don't think that happened. With DC has a little bit of they're going for a little different vibe than Marvel. So I think even though it's superhero movies, I think it's not going to oversaturate because, for one, they're not coming out with that many movies at a time. We had Aquaman. Shazam is about as close as you get to another DC movie. And then there's going to be, you got a few months in between these movies. Marvel, they're going every month pretty much. So yeah, I don't think that's going to happen yet. I think we still have quite a bit of time before the oversaturation kicks in, and it may never kick in. It just depends on how the companies distribute the movies and how fast they come out and the quality. Obviously, the quality counts too. If the quality is still there, I think for the longest time we've had movies where people are like, well, it's just another good superhero movie. It's just another one. It's the same formula, but it's great, and I love watching it. But there's nothing new here, and it's just another one. So awesome! I'm glad that they got another one out, but it didn't break anything. So that's good too. So yeah, I'm really excited. I'm in a really good place when it comes to superhero movies. I think this has just been a really awesome time, and I think this is a time that everyone's going to look back on and say, "Man, those are the days." Especially, I think they've already done that with this Marvel run that they've had. When you're thinking of around the time of like Guardians of the Galaxy and Winter Soldier, I think people already look back on that and go, "Man, those are the days." But I think this whole chunk of time, I think these last, 10, 12 years have just been a really good time if you're a comic book fan. And I don't take any of it for granted because I remember the times when it was not that. It was very not. So that's awesome. And so yeah, I'm excited. Endgame's, I think, a really good final statement when it comes to this generation of superhero movies, and I think it's gonna really define a lot of what we've been seeing for the longest time, the past, decade. So what are your thoughts about it? Let me know. I hope that everyone else is excited and is just as excited as I am. I'll have some more videos coming out shortly. I may even throw in some random reviews here of other movies that aren't superhero movies, and maybe even a couple of video game reviews because I'm also working on those right now. And of course, I just picked up my pull list with a bunch of comics, and I just caught up on like Action Comics and Superman and Spider-Man and all that. So that's exciting too. So I will see you guys in the next video.